y'all, happy Friday. Thanks for joining me for another craft night with friends. My name is Alyssa Thomas from Penguin and Fish, where we make cute embroidery kits for beginners, and I'm here every evening, Monday through Friday at 8:30 p.m. Central Time, and it's a time that we can just relax and craft here in the evening. Tonight we are continuing on the Splendid Sampler to quilt along. We are going through this whole book. There is 100 different quilt blocks in it, and we are on like the 68th one, I think now. So we're getting there. I'm gonna be in the 20s soon, a few more blocks, and then we'll only have like 29 left. But right now I think we have like 32 left. Ugh. I'm just really wanting to like get through the rest of these. We usually work on this project the second full week of the month. We actually got 2 blocks done so far this week, which is awesome. I mean, if we can get 1 block done during the week, that's fabulous, but we were able to get 2, and we're going to start on this next one. It is done with foundation paper piecing, and I got all my little printouts here, my templates, and we'll go over how to do that today. We'll get started. So we'll do the very start, and then we'll pick it up again next month. All right, you guys. So here we are, got all my stuff out here. I also have my fabric, because we're gonna be picking new fabric again for this block here. And we got the colored pencils out. I always start a foundation paper piecing by kind of coloring in my templates after we pick fabric, just because it can get real confusing real quick, especially since we are actually doing 4 quadrants that are the same. So we're gonna have 4 of these templates flying around. So we are gonna need that, need to color code it. Oh, Gretchen says, I thought you were gonna be at my mom's. I will be, that's Monday. So Monday I will be over at my parents' house. So Monday, when we stitch up, Monday is embroidery of the month. It's the start of embroidery of the month week. So we have the Autumn Sparkle, which is the embroidery of the month. We'll be starting this. So I'm gonna bring this with me, the little kit here. I'm gonna just take this with, and we'll get started on this on Monday here, and then I'll be back here on the rest of the week. So that is the plan. Oh, and then when we're done the week after, so here's my little sample piece. I want to sew it up into a cute little zipper pouch. I got these really fun zippers that are like a couple different colors, and they have this fun little big zipper pull on it. I'm going to take my finished embroidery and hopefully make it into a little fun zipper pouch, because everyone can use more zipper pouches. I got like a zillion of these, but ugh, I love them. Okay, so I better put that on my pile behind me so I remember to bring it with, so I have it on Monday. So that's that. Okay, let's roll up the sleeves a bit. So I'm gonna zoom in a little bit here. We're gonna be working on this Iowa Star block tonight, and it is done with foundation paper piecing, and what that means is we are going to be sewing the design onto a base, a foundation, and that is going to be right here. We have our template right there. I have a zillion copies of it because it says make 4 copies, and then I always do an extra copy just for to have as a template. Hold on, you guys. Zoom me this over just a bit. It helps me cut out the fabric later. So let's, first of all, my little list. Got to cross off the in the hoop one last night. I'm going to stick that back in the front so I don't lose it. Okay, and then here I've made 5 photocopies of that template right here. So we'll color all these in except for one, the one that I'm going to use just to like help me cut fabric. But I'm going to set those aside for now, because first I want to choose fabric. Okay, so the fabric colors. So I have this. This is all out from last night still. What I do know is that I'll probably use some white. So I'm going to just grab that already. One of my rules for my particular quilt on this is whenever I have something that feels like a background, I'm going to make it white. I always thought those quilts were so pretty that had like white backgrounds and stuff, and I've never made one before. And having those rules set up for myself helps me not veer into like a realm that I'm used to, like super bright colors and all that. So one of my rules is white background. So in this case, that looks like these big guys back here. So those I think will be white. And then I need 2 more colors here. And I'm also, the second thing that I'm going with my quilt is these pale colors. I'm trying to see if I can limit my palette to just these kind of creams and yellows, and then every once in a while I'll throw in like a bright color, but that's not very often. I'm on purpose trying not to do that very often. All right, so we have 2 colors in this piece, so let's just pick 2 that we think might work well together. I might just grab this yellow again, just because we do have a lot of it, and I think it'd be easy to contrast something with it. What else do we got? You know, maybe we just do some of these circles again. I'm kind of leaning towards these big pieces, because I am going to need enough to make 4 of these, so I do need a bit of fabric. I mean, these aren't bad together. These on the white, there's some of this kind of orangey yellow in these little circles. I know we've used both of these fabrics a ton in this quilt, but that's the point, right? The other option, we could do like this swirl. I like this circle thing. I know we won't really see circles because we'll be chopping it up, but like every once in a while we'll get a little curve to it. I kind of like that. Let's do that. All right, done. Let's just move on. Sometimes it's just nice to just pick really quick and get going. All right, so there we go. Don't need my fabric bin anymore. Okay, so let's just decide what we want where. Let's see, should the yellow be the like big one in the middle, and then these can be sprouting off kind of the side here? I'm kind of leaning towards that. I think we'd have more of the effect that this design is getting with the bright in the middle, because this purple, or this blue I mean, is kind of close in value, like the lightness and darkness. It's kind of close to this gray. And I feel like this is closer to the white, so maybe that feels the same. And then these guys can be here. We'll also have a pop of color within here. Okay, let's just do it. I like this, my yellow as the middle, and this little burst, and then these triangles coming out the side, these big triangles with the triangle on the inside. That can be the circle. Good. Another quick decision. Let's get it. Okay, so next up, I want to grab these. It's actually going to have like the effect of this one from last night, where we've chopped this up so we have like a bunch of little kind of arcs in there. I think that'll be kind of nice. All right, so next I want to color code my diagrams here. So I'm going to just pick a few colors that kind of look similar to these from my colored pencils here. This guy's popping out at me and it's sharp. Man, I need a little sharpener in here. Some of these aren't all that sharp. So this is going to be the yellow, and then maybe I'll just draw like circles on one. So let's just get like a little kind of a cream color. Here we go. And then the white will just stay white. I think that's fine. Okay, so let's give that a go. So we can kind of figure out what goes where by just kind of comparing this with, like this is going to be divided in a square like so. So based on that, Actually, I think this is more like this bottom triangle, how it's positioned here. Yeah, it is. So this guy in the middle here, I'll do one, and then I got to repeat it for the other ones. I'm just kind of scribbling it in. So for the yellow, we have that inside piece, which is this, and then this piece right here. Oh, interesting. This doesn't have any numbers or any letters on it. We'll talk about that in a sec. Usually there's a letter and a number on these, but since they're all the same, they've only put numbers on. All right, so next up, these triangle pieces are the circles. So I'm just going to draw circles. So this represents the circle fabric, and the yellow is going to represent the yellow fabric, and then the white areas represent just the white fabric that we're going to be using for here. So the reason I do this, I mean, obviously I can just kind of look at this and start figuring it out. I don't need to color it in, but it is so helpful because once we cut this out, we're going to be rotating them and moving them around, and we're going to have 4 of them, and man, to just quick reference the what fabric goes where makes it so much easier. So I do like taking this extra step. So let's just do this for 4 of them. It's a little funny step, but I find it really helpful. Then we'll cut these all out and we'll be ready to go. Okay. That was 3. Yep. Okay, so this is the last one that I'll color, and then we do have one more that I'm just going to use as, like, I'm going to cut it out and use it to help me find the pieces from the fabric later, and that'll make sense in a moment here, I think. These are the pieces that I'm actually going to be sewing directly onto. All right, so we're colored in. I'm going to set that aside. Theoretically, I could color in this last one as well, but I don't think we need to. I'm going to just let that one be. So that one I'm going to set to the side, and these ones I am going to cut out. So I'm going to grab my paper scissors. Here we are. Now, really, I did miss one. Oh, did I not get all these in? Oh, I did, you're right. Huh. That would be a problem later. Good catch. Now I'm paranoid. Let's look at them all again. Good catch, Linda. All right. Yikes. All right, so now I'm going to cut them out. I could cut them out without the... So a lot of times in a foundation paper piece, you might not have like this reference of a seam allowance. A seam allowance is kind of built into the process of doing this, so we don't really need to cut that out, but since it's here, it'll be a good reminder to do a seam allowance, and I'm just going to roughly cut it. It doesn't need to be perfect for this. So let's just cut them all out. All right, and then this will be garbage. I'm not confident that these photocopied all perfectly, so otherwise I could probably just stack them and cut them all out at the same time, but this seems safer. So there's tons of different ways to do foundation paper piecing, but this so far for me is my favorite way of doing it. Sometimes you fold all the lines beforehand, or I don't know, a lot of people have different techniques, but this to me works works the best for me, at least. All right, that's 3. And I think I'm going to cut out that one that I didn't color in, so I don't have all this excess everywhere. All right, and it's been a little while since we've done this again, so I'm just going to hope that I remember the process. I always kind of have to learn each time. All right, here's our unmarked one. All right. I'm going to rearrange a bit so I can get my iron here. And we have these are only 2 fabrics. Oh, there we are. Have our 3 fabrics here. Oh, and a straight piece. That'll work. And my pressing mat, I just want nearby. Yeah, nearby. Okay. So we can already arrange these to make our final piece, really. So we're making 4 of the exact same thing, and then just by rotating them different ways, we're gonna get our piece here. So I'm gonna get a few more tools out. We need, well, I like using this add a quarter ruler. That'll come in handy. I like having a postcard around, something with a long edge that's kind of stiff but very thin, so like a folder, like a file folder or something would work well too. I just like having a postcard. We want that nice straight edge. And what was the other thing? Oh yeah, a little bit of glue. Ooh, this should be interesting. Does this glue... That's a little dry. That one might not work. Let's see if I have anything else here. Yeah, I think I have a little bit. That's, I think, garbage. So this is just all water soluble glue. This one by Sew Line just happens to be like nice and little, so that works great for foundation paper piecing. Otherwise, just like some Elmer's or like some school glue, like a glue stick, any sort of glue stick that's not like permanent will work. So all right, those are my tools here. Okay, so there's a couple ways we could do this. We could do each of them individually, or we could do them all at the same time. And what I mean by that is, let's just like kind of look at the anatomy of this once. So we have numbers on here, and it looks like 1 through 7. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That is the order that we go in, and there's like, you don't change that. However, the designer put the order on, that's how it works. And it won't really work well, I think, if you don't do it in that order. So I'm going to start with 1. That's right in the middle. So I could just do this whole one piece. So the first one, then the second, then the third. I could just do that for the entire piece here, and then I could put it aside, and then I can do the next one and do the same thing. And then like the next one, and then the next one, fully do it. Or I could do all of the 1s, all 4 of the 1s, and then all of the 2s, and then all of the 3s, and then we'd finish them all at the same time. And that is the way I think I'm going to do that. It can get a little confusing just keeping track of everything, but it is faster because I can cut all the pieces at the same time. I can sew them all at the same time. I can press them all at the same time. So it is a bit faster. So that's why I think I'm going to do that way. And we haven't had the opportunity to really do that much. We usually just kind of go through each one for these Splendid Sampler blocks. But in this case, I think we're going to do them all at once. I think that'll work here. So what we need to do first, our first step is let's get a piece of fabric for our number 1 pieces. So we need 4 of them. That's one thing we know is we need 4. We also need them to be yellow, so that's, we've colored it in, it's our yellow fabric. For the size, we need it to be the size of this number 1 piece, so this triangle, plus a really generous seam allowance around it. And I do like a 1/2 inch seam allowance, and it doesn't even have to be perfect. I just do a big honkin' blob. It's way easier in foundation paper piecing to have a bigger piece of fabric that gets cut down versus having too small, because you don't want to have to take something out because we're going to be perforating all these papers when we sew it, and it could make it really difficult to put back together. So let's get these 4 pieces. What I'm going to use to help me get those pieces is I'm going to just cut out this number 1. So this is going to be my like find the fabric template. So I'm going to cut out this number 1 from here, and I'm going to use this to help me get pieces. Okay, so I'm going to set that aside. I'm actually going to set all of these aside for now. All right, we need our yellow fabric, and let's just start with this piece here. Whenever we work with the fabric, we're going to have the good side down, so the right side down, and the template side up. So it'll be like this, like we'll have our template up and the fabric right side down. So I need to cut some pieces out of here, like wherever, as long as I can get that generous 1/4 inch, or generous seam allowance. Like I said, I usually get about a 1/2 inch here. Now I'm going to get my nice scissors. I can like fold a bunch and get a few at a time, but you're getting a mirror image of them then, so you can't always do that. So I think I'll just do it this way. I'll do them all individually. So I'm just going to kind of estimate my blobs. And don't worry, it starts off way messy, but this ends up being like the cleanest, most perfect thing with the perfect seam allowances. So let's just keep going here. I'm gonna keep cutting out my blobs. I want to make sure I have enough at the point too. Oop, that was kind of a lot, but it's fine. There, that's 2. Let's go like right here. These are crazy blobs, right? But it's totally gonna work. We don't need that little nubbin though. Boop. Okay, and I didn't really press these. They'll get pressed a whole ton though later, so I'm not all that worried. But actually, I might press these before I use them. I guess we can get kind of up in there. I want to make sure I have enough at the bottom here. All right, there we go. And actually, we might have enough just with this fabric to get our last piece out of. So I might not need more of this yellow other than that tiny piece that we've been using. But I'll keep it all here. All right, I am going to just press this really quick. I could have pressed it before, but let's just give these blobs a press. So look how crazy they look. But those are going to be all of our number 1 pieces. So step 1, like doing the first piece of these blocks, like the 1 piece, is going to be different than all the other pieces. So 2 through 7, we're going to treat exactly the same as each other, but 1 is going to be a bit different. So we're doing that now. Okay, so I don't need my template piece anymore. That can go away. So next up, we need to attach our pieces to our blocks here. So how we're going to do that, that's where the glue comes in. Remember, this is as big as our triangle piece, our number 1 piece, plus that generous seam allowance. We want to just glue this so that our piece is, centered in there, so we can peek and have that generous seam allowance all the way around. So that's our goal. I think I'm going to just put a little blob of glue right in the middle here. I don't think I even need to put it on the paper. Let's just double check that we're in there. And again, the benefit of doing giant blobs is that you don't have to like move everything so it's just perfect because you just did a 1/4 inch seam allowance. So that's it. This is actually done. Number 1 is done for this piece. That's all there is to it. So we can move on to number 2 with this piece. So let's just keep, let's finish these ones up too. I think I'm going to put it on the back. Putting it right on that 1 piece. How did this one fit? Probably like so. Just double checking that I have my generous seam allowance. We'll be cutting them down to 1/4 inch seam allowances, but I do, want to make sure, double check that they're there. And another thing to remember the right side goes down, so we're gluing onto the wrong side of the fabric. Okay, about right like so. Oop, I might have to scooch this one over. Just a hair. Oh yeah, that's good. Plenty good. All right. And last up, ooh, this one seems a little smaller. Maybe I should try putting it on this way. I haven't tried that before. Let's peek again. Yep. Good 1/4 inch all the way around. We are fine. And that's it for the glue. That's all we needed the glue for, was to glue the number 1 pieces on. So, boop, that can go be put away. All right, we are ready to move on, you guys, to part 2. I actually wasn't sure we'd get this far. I know we've only done like 1 thing really, but anyway, I'm happy. So the next piece we have to look at is piece number 2. So that's this piece right here. So we need our circle fabric. And then we need to cut 4, since we have 4 pieces, 4 units here again that are all the same. We need to cut 4 that are this size, and really, it looks like we could actually cut out, more. Like this 3 and this 4 look just about the same size as this number 2. So theoretically, we could cut all of them out, but I think we might still go one at a time, because there is one edge that I want to pay a little closer attention to. We're going to cut a big blob like this again, but the edge that I want to pay a little bit more attention to is the edge where the number 2 touches the number 1. So basically where whatever block we're working on touches the piece that came before. So in this case, it's number 1. So this edge right here, instead of cutting a big blob, I want that to be on a nice straight edge. And I'm going to get that more at the 1/4 inch seam allowance, while the rest will be a blob. So it'll be nice edge and then blob is what we're going to go for. Oh, Kimberly says, wait, paper piecing. I'm so glad to be here now. I'm still new at this paper piecing stuff. Yep. So all we've done is glued on number 1. So we're moving on to number 2. So what's going to help us cut these out again is our extra template piece. We made 1 extra just for this purpose of being able to help us cut out fabric. And so, like I just said, there's one edge that we want to pay extra close attention to, and that's the one that's going to be touching what came before. So this edge right here, we want to be on that straight edge when we cut fabric. And I might even. Let's just even add a little star there, just as a reminder, like this is the one that we want, that nice edge. So all right, I'm gonna set all this aside again. Let's just even plop it up on our mat, just so it's really out of the way. I don't want to accidentally cut it or anything. All right, so here's our fabric. I'm gonna flip it over because right side is always down. And I'm gonna just use a nice straight edge that's already existing here. I'm gonna just pay attention to that. And it doesn't have to be perfect. We will still be trimming it down a little bit. Actually, we won't really. We do kind of want a nice edge here, but I think this is good enough. It does have some fuzzles, but I'm not gonna worry about that. If you don't have a nice straight edge, just cut a straight edge with a ruler. That would be fine. Okay, so I'm gonna place this number 2 piece with that side that we marked, the side that's gonna be connecting to that the earlier piece, number 1. That we're gonna put like a 1/4 inch or so away from this edge, maybe just a hair more, but we're thinking about a 1/4 inch seam allowance here. The rest we want the blob. So a good like 1/2 inch blob with the one nice straight edge. So there we go. That's, as long as we can remember that's our straight edge. I'll just stack them up maybe. So let's do another one. Don't worry about having all these big weird cuts everywhere. That's just going to be the nature of paper piecing here. Ooh, I maybe should have made that blob a little bit bigger, but we'll manage. So like I said, we probably could cut a zillion of these right away for those 3 and 4 pieces because they look the same, but you know, at some point it gets confusing. So I'm gonna just keep it piece by piece here. All right, let's just kind of, I'm not sure. Yeah, so this isn't big enough. I don't have a big enough seam allowance here or here, so I'm just gonna rotate. We'll get on this nice straight edge here. There we go. I think that'll do. This moved a little, but we still have our generous blob. Okay, so we can set this aside. And we also do not need our template piece anymore because we have our pieces cut out. So I'm gonna get that out of the way. All right, so before we can put those onto our pieces here, we need to clean up our seam allowance where the 2 are gonna connect, the one from before, the number 1 and our number 2 piece. So because right now, if we look at it, we got our crazy weird seam allowance, right? So to clean that up, I'm gonna get a cutting board here. I am going to use my other tools here. So I'm gonna take my straight edge here, like my piece of my postcard that has that stiff, but has that like thin straight edge still. That's what we want. We're gonna actually cover up the piece that came before. In this case, it's piece number 1. We are gonna completely ignore numbers that come later. So like we have part of 7 here and part of 5. We are gonna pretend that they don't exist. And we're putting it on the line, you know, there's lines everywhere, but we're putting it on the line of the piece we're currently working on, which is number 2, and we're covering up the thing that came before, which is 1. So we don't have to concern ourselves with anything else. All right, so I'm covering up the number 1 right on that line, and I'm gonna flip this entire piece on my postcard here, and that's gonna reveal our crazy blob edge, right? So this is the point when we get to make that a perfect 1/4 inch seam allowance. And we're gonna do that with a rotary cutter. You can get just a ruler and measure a 1/4 inch from the edge. So, you know, I could get just any ruler and measure a 1/4 inch from my folded edge here and then trim the rest off. But I'm gonna do it with a special tool just for this reason. And it may seem silly to have a tool just for this reason, but it is, if you're doing a lot of paper piecing, it becomes so relaxing because you don't really have to measure or anything. And here's why. This has a little lip on it that's a perfect 1/4 inch. It's called an add a quarter ruler. So add a quarter. I have the 12-inch one, which I like. They also come in the 6-inch, but I like the 12-inch because you can do longer edges. But yeah, so it has this little lip with that 1/4 inch on there. And what you do is, we have our stiff piece of paper here, our kind of little thick thing here, and the fold. So that makes a little ledge. And if we take that lip and bump it right up onto that ledge, like I can do this with literally with my eyes closed, I can feel that bump up to it. Now that reveals our 1/4 inch seam allowance. So it seems silly. It seems like why even bother having this tool? I have a ruler that I can do the same thing with. But we're going to be doing this over and over and over again, and it's going to get so relaxing to not have to measure, not have to think about any of that, and just plop this guy on here, get your rotary cutter, and trim it off. And actually, theoretically, I could do that with all of these at the same time. Let's do that. Okay, so I'm going to fold that back now, and we have a perfect 1/4 inch seam allowance there. It's just going to be great. So I'm going to set that down. Let's do that for all of these other ones. So I'm going to cover up that one. I'm going to fold on that line where the 1 and the 2 connect. Ooh, look at that blob. Pop it on. Get my cutting glove back on. Gretchen says my favorite tool ever. It is a surprising favorite tool. It just seems so silly. Like when I was working on the first Splendid Sampler, that's when you guys here started talking about you gotta get an add a quarter ruler or whatever. And I'm like, ugh, all it does is makes it easier to add a 1/4 inch. That sounds excessive. But it really makes the job 1,000 times more enjoyable. I'm telling you. You will not love it. Boop. And last one. See, it is kind of nice being able to assembly line these steps. I think we're going to get done a little quicker. Bop. So paper piecing will make a mess everywhere. I'm going to have paper pieces. I'm going to have old template pieces. I'm going to have just things, tools everywhere through this process. So that's kind of goofy, but that's the deal. Okay, so I now have that perfect seam allowance. We have our pieces prepped for number 2 here. And now what we need to do is that straight edge that we left on all of our number 2 pieces, we want to match that up with our perfectly cut straight edge here. So kind of like so, and then we're going to do right sides together. We're going to fold these right sides together so that these edges meet. So like so. So just like that. And eventually, so we'll sew along this seam, and when we fold it back, this is going to be our piece 2 right here. See? But before we do that, I want to test the position of the, if this is going to be in the right spot, because, it might need to be up higher here, which I kind of expect it might be. It might be here. It's not always right in the middle. I just perfectly lined up these edges, oh, this meets here, this meets here. That is not always where it needs to be. So especially when there's weird triangles, it's hard to kind of picture it in your head. So what I like to do is a test. So I do that with, I grab some straight pins, and I kind of position where I think it maybe will go, and then I flip it over and I pretend sew along that edge. It's that same edge that we just folded. So between 1 and 2, I'm going to put a pin there, and I just put another one a little further up so it doesn't like pivot on me. So 2 pins, like so. And now I'm going to pretend press it. So I'm going to pretend I sewed that, and I'm going to pretend press, let's just finger press it, along those pins. And we know we are successful in our positioning if, when we look on this side, if we have covered our entire piece, so there's no like little edge sticking off, plus we have a generous seam allowance yet, so we can peek. Okay, I mean, yep, I think I have a good 1/4 inch there. I have a good 1/4 inch there. This is the beauty of cutting larger blobs, because if I only cut like a perfect 1/4 inch seam allowance around my template piece, and I had to place this perfectly, I would have to be adjusting this like up just a millimeter or down this way a hair over and over and over again until it was perfect. But in this case, my blobs take care of it. I got a good 1/4 inch all the way around, so I know that this is in the right spot. So this one's good to go. I'm actually going to take the pins out just so I can use it for these. But I know that the position of this, as long as I don't move this, is fine. So I'm going to set that one aside. Since we're working with little pieces, I don't expect that to just like blow away or something. But if I was using larger pieces, like if this was like 2 times or 3 times as big, this whole thing, I might want to keep it pinned because it gets floppy. All right, so here's our perfectly cut seam allowance again for this one. Let's match it up with our straight edge. So here's our 2 other straight edges, since it's a little confusing, but I can tell which is the blob and which is the straight edge. So the straight edge is here. Let's match that up again with the one we just cut. Fold them right sides together. And again, I'm just kind of guessing where the placement should be. Let's do the pin test again, and then I'll show you my like quick test, which is not always as accurate as the pin test, but sometimes when I'm doing a pile of them like this, I get greedy and just do my quick test. But I think this is a little bit more accurate. So we did our pretend sewing. Let's do our pretend pressing. So I can already tell that I think I have a lot of extra on the top, which I maybe don't need. So let's check our seam allowance. So yeah, we're fine on top, we're fine here, but I want to make sure that at the bottom, this bottom bit, that I have enough. I want the 1/4 inch seam allowance away, from that point too, and we're plenty good. All right, so this is in position. Again, we're reaping the benefits of the blob. Okay, so let's do that other way, my quick method of doing it. So here's our seam allowance. Let's match our straight edge, fold it together. So in this method, I kind of get where I think it should be, and I don't know, I'm thinking right there looks like maybe where it should be. And then I just don't do the pins, but I do everything else. So I just kind of guess at my 1/4 inch and I fold it, and then I just flip it around quick. And sometimes I'll even like put my fingers where these points are, so I can kind of see like, okay, yeah, I definitely have a 1/4 inch at the bottom. We're fine on around the piece, so that's good. So I'm gonna just fold it back. That one's fine. And our last one, let's get that straight edge, flip it around, get it kind of, this one feels a little bit bigger, so I think we're probably fine there. Let's do our test. Okay, get my finger at the bottom here. Yep, I think we are decent there. We have plenty at the top, so I could scooch it down a hair, but I think we're fine. All right, so all of these pieces, I'm being careful, are positioned great. And now we can sew finally. All right, so there are things to know when sewing as well for foundation paper piecing. So first of all, I do not need my leader here. I'm going to get rid of that. And second, we are going to reduce our stitch length. So I'm at like a 2 right now. I'm going to reduce it to 1. And what that's going to do is our stitches are going to be smaller than usual. And the reason we're doing that is because it puts more perforations. Like every time the needle goes into our paper, it's making like a little perforation. We're doing that on purpose because that's going to make it easier to tear the paper off later. And so I'm going to flip this around. So I'm holding both edges here. I'm going to flip it around, and I am going to sew on the line, but I'm going to sew from this corner here, only this corner here to this corner here. So just on our line. I'm not going to go over. Some people go into the next piece, but I find I like it better when I get right at the beginning and I stop right at the end. So we're going to move this. I still have my two pieces like hanging out underneath here nicely. And I'm going to sew right on that line. Ooh, that was a good start right at the beginning. And I'm actually going to back tack it a little bit too, just to like lock it in there. And then I'm going to go forward. I don't have to worry about a 1/4 inch seam allowance getting it perfect. I'm just stitching exactly on that line here. Let me see if I can. There, now you guys might be able to see a hair better. I'm right on that line. And when I get to the end of that line, I don't want to go into the next shape. I'm going to just finish it there. I'm going to back tack a little. And do the couple extra stitches to back tack, and that's it. I'm going to take it off the machine. I'm going to trim. At this point, I do like trimming those ends off right at the paper, and then I flip around to the back and get them there too, because those fuzzles are just going to get in our way. And that's it. That is our first piece. We will press it next is the next step. But let's get, ooh man, I think I maybe made my stitch length a little too small. That's really small. I don't need to be that small. We'll go a little bit bigger. But that is it. So that's the sewing part. Let's grab the next one. So here we go. Let's flip it over. Assembly line, do all these guys. Okay, back tack. Right on that line. If you go over a little bit into the next one, that's totally fine. And some people actually prefer doing it that way. But I don't know, I've tried it that way a few times and I still like this way the best, just kind of stopping right when I meet that next shape. All right, do our little process here. So the nice thing is, like, this is how the rest of this whole process is going to be for each number after 1. So like 2 through 7 is just going to be this exact process. So it gets relaxing. Like you get doing the same thing over and over again. And I just find it totally calming. Like it seems like, oh my God, there's so many steps to foundation paper piecing. It's so confusing. But really, once you get into the groove of it all, I mean, there's no real measuring, you know, because we got the add a quarter ruler and our blobs. I can just stitch on the line, so I don't have to be perfect there, like with my seam allowance. It's just, and I just keep doing the same steps over and over again. It becomes like so easy. Yep, I did reduce my stitch length, so my stitch length is shorter. Gretchen. Yeah, so that again, it'll make more perforations in the paper, and that when we're completely done, we take the paper out, so this paper doesn't stay here forever. It's just while we work on it. And I have one more to do. And then we take the paper out. It's just while we are working on it. So I'm glad we're getting to this part because basically, like I said, the rest of it, we're doing the same thing. The only time the process changes from this is when we actually sew these 4 finished units together. Then it's kind of like one extra little kind of step. But we're almost done with this number 2 piece. And then we're going to just chill and keep going. I think, oh, well, it's 9:20. Maybe we'll just finish up this number 2 piece. We'll see, yeah. I think we might only have time for that. But again, if you wanted to keep going, you just cut out the piece for number 3, and just with your little number 3 template piece, and then you trim up the seam allowance again with your postcard. You put your piece on and test it, and sew, and then this is the last step here. We're going to be pressing. So, all right, we're going to press with, you want the colored side, the part where you see the pattern, down. Otherwise, you know, you're getting that all over your iron, and it doesn't need to be like that. So we're putting it down. And what I like doing first before I press with the iron is I finger press. So I'm just going to press it like that, because we've only sewn to where our line on this side stops, so we still have like a floppy blob here. So by finger pressing, I can extend that easier than with the iron right away. And then I can get my iron and press that. Just like so. And that is our number 1 and number 2 piece. It looks crazy, right? It still looks like giant blobs, but with every piece that we put on here, like with every piece, like this is 3 will be next. So this is done. This is ready to start number 3. With every piece we put on, like the more we carve the pieces that came before. Like, see, 2 more pieces on here, and this will be a perfect triangle. You know, another piece here, and we'll have a perfect straight edge on here. So with each piece, we are carving it away. So we got a nice straight line there. We'll just keep carving and carving and carving. All right, we can also pull up that little piece of glue at this point now that was on number 1, because we are now attached with the real seam. So that's that. That one's ready. Let's get these other ones done. Finger press that. All right, that one's done. Actually, I think we might be able to get started on number 3. Why not? Let's see if we can go like supersonic speed through the third piece. I don't know if we'll be able to do that, but I wanna. Oh, I don't think I pulled up the glue bits on here. There we go. And last one. So I'll go for this number 3. I'll go kind of at the pace that I theoretically would like to go for these. All right, these are all done. We can do piece 3 now, and I think what I'm going to do first is prep our pieces with, before I cut the fabric, I'm going to prep our seam allowance. So now it's between 3 and whatever came before. It's not actually touching number 2, but it is touching number 1. So I'm going to cover up whatever came before, which in this case is the number 1 and 2, and I'm going to fold on that number 3 line. I'm going to ignore the 6 and 7 there. And that reveals that seam allowance. Let's trim that up. Get my glove on, get the rotary cutter. So we're getting those straight edges prepped that the straight edges when we cut our new pieces will match up to. Okay. Cover up everything that came before number 3. Fold number 3. I actually don't like folding these all before. I know, I think Nolene said that she likes folding them before. I like doing it at this stage because then I can cut at the same time. And then I'm not confusing fold lines. Like, I like knowing the one that I just folded and being able to sew like right on that one. So I don't know, I actually prefer doing it little by little like this. Okay, and last one. Make sure they don't flop back. Like, make sure you're not cutting it and then it's like that. I almost did that just then, I think. But yeah, I know a lot of people like folding it all beforehand, for sure. I like doing it this way. All right, so done with prep. All right, well, now let's analyze what we need. Okay, so we need a piece as big as that number 3, and it's that circle fabric again. So that's the important part. I need circle fabric. And let me also get, just for my own help, our number 3 template. And I think I'm going to mark that edge that we need to match up to, because I find that helpful. So let me grab a pen. So it's, there we go. So it's this edge here that's going to match up. So that's the edge that I want to have, like my nice straight edge, my like 1/4 inch straight edge. The rest can be the blob. There we go. So now when I turn this like this and drop it, I still know what my straight edge side is. So I think that's good to just mark it. Do we have any more straight edges here, or if we have to trim some more? You know what? I think I'm going to just keep going around this edge. We're going to just have a crazy weird border for this, and that's fine. We can trim. We'll trim those nice and clean later. All right. Let's just go right here and start cutting some blobs. All right, so I want to about a 1/4 inch from the straight edge. Cut a new straight edge if you don't have one, and then we'll blob around it with this scissors way over here. And the blobs are definitely a good, like, 1/2 inch. Oh, shoot, I messed that up already. All right, you guys, messed that up because the right side has to go down. And it might still work for this piece. Oh. Yeah, okay. Let's see if it still works. Well, not really, because that's the straight edge that I wanted. So now this has to become the straight edge. So it didn't quite work. That's the problem with not having like triangles and that sort of thing. Like the edges matter. So I'm just gonna, just so I know for sure. Am I gonna have a big enough blob? I don't know. Let's see. I'm gonna make this my straight edge. I'll cut without my glove. Let's just do this quick. So on this one, I'm gonna have to remember that this is actually my straight edge here, not here. And I think we have just enough of a blob yet. It's getting close, but there we go. So that's one. Now let's do this right. Now that I'm got this flipped upside down. That's important. And theoretically, I could stack a bunch of this on top of each other and cut all these at once and stuff too, but sometimes, especially like when it's late like this, it's helpful for me to just do them one at a time. This guy can go here. All right, and one more we need. You know what? Let's go right there. All right, there we go. Now it is back to matching straight edges. So this straight edge matches the one that we cut there. They're about right there, I'd say. Let's do our flip test. Ooh, I think I need to scooch this down a hair. I think I didn't have enough seam allowance down here. All right, now let's flip. There, that feels better. And then up here, I still have plenty. Okay, we're good. So right there, I think, for this one. So that one's ready to sew. Let's grab the next one. Okay, the straight edge on here. I can keep this around in case I forget my straight edge. Yep. So this straight edge matches up there. Probably right there. Maybe a little further down. And let's do our test. Flip. I think we need to scooch it down a little bit again. See, I wasn't expecting it to have to go down that far, but triangles are a little tricky to picture it all in reverse, so that one's fine. Next up, okay, that's our straight edge. There we go. Now I know that the other ones had to scooch down a little bit, so I'm going to scooch, pre-scooch. Do our little fold. Oh, I think I need to go a hair more. You can even kind of hold it up to the light to see. Actually, I think this one's pretty tight. I think we actually have to go back this way a little. This one probably deserves a pin test, but I think we're still okay, so I'm going to just do it. And then this last one is where it might be pretty tight. Yeah, so this is our edge. Let's do the pin test for this one, because why not? Here are my pins. So the pin test again is when we fake sew with the pins on our line. Then we fake press. It actually wouldn't be a bad idea to have a light table around when doing this, because I could just like do this up to the light and kind of see if I can see these lines through and still have the generous quarter seam allowance. But I can just peek up like this, and this is positioned totally fine. So I'll just leave the pins in there for now. I can sew with those in, and these are all ready to sew. So let's do that quick. I want to get through the process of this third one. I know we'll run a little late, but it's kind of great that we were able to just do this next little section here. I don't need my pins anymore. I'm going to start on the beginning of that line. So if I would have cut all three of these, I mean, really, I could cut all the pieces at once, but I still like this process of going one at a time. But it probably would have sped it up a little bit if I would have had pre-cut all those pieces. But again, that just sometimes confuses me a hair, and especially when it's late like this, sometimes I just stick to the one step at a time. So I always have to kind of rate how I'm doing, rate how I'm feeling that night. All right, snip our little ends. All right, this feller is ready to press. Let's get the next one. All right, carefully flip that around. I'll still stay and press these, and then we can see our number one piece is going to get we're carving out that number one piece, I think. quite a bit with this, working on the number 3 one that we are right now. It'll be fun to see. So we'll press number 3. So basically we'll be done with number 3. So we'll have 4 through 7 to do yet next month, and then assembling all the units together. And man, I don't think that's going to take very long. We might even get done the next time we work on it. At most, it'll take two periods, 2 hours, but at most. I don't expect it to take that long. And we'll have another one cranked out. Man, I wonder if we can get like 2 or 3 done, and next time we work on this too, then we'll be in the 20s. All right, one more to do, and then we can press. So I'm scooching this along. I'm trying not to move those fabric pieces underneath. Want them to stay all lined up on those straight edges still. Okay, that's it for the sewing. Snip these right away, and we'll press these, and number 3 will be done. Okay, let's get my pressing mat back up here. All right, I'm gonna finger press first. Ooh, and there, our triangle is starting. There we go. So number 3 is done there, and we've carved out this one piece again. The next piece we'll finish carving out that first piece, but it's happening. Finger press, and then for real press. All right, he's done. I'm glad I caught that, that I cut that first triangle for number 3 on the actual right side of the fabric, which was incorrect. I needed to do it on the wrong side of the fabric. So I'm glad I caught that early before cutting a zillion of them. All right, and there we go. We have carved out. We've done number 3. We're carving away the ones that happened before. So this is actually, just so you know, that this is actually going to be the reverse of what our design looks like here, but this is, works where either way is the same. So, but some paper piecing is very complicated and isn't as mirror image as these blocks are. So you do have to make sure that your pieces are you're cutting them on the wrong side of the fabric, and then it will be the reverse for real. So if you have if you're paper piecing letters or a character or something like that, it'll be written backwards, because when you flip it, it'll be written correctly. So we're actually, the front here, this is actually the back of the piece, and this is the front. So there we go. We got our little pieces started. I think they'll end up like so. So we can start seeing what our guy will look like there. Let's just look at the final piece again, so you can kind of get a little sense of where we're headed. So there we are. We have this little segment here done with these 3 triangles in a row here. So this will be yellow in the middle. This will be another one of the circles up here. It'll go way into here like this. So this will be a triangle that goes here, and then these angles will be the white. So that'll carve, it'll carve quite a bit away from these, which is the whole point. We'll carve out our next triangles. But there, we have a very good start on this, much farther than I was expecting to get today. I know we went over, but love it. Love foundation paper piecing. So it is totally relaxing to just go through this process over and over and over again. And like I said, after you get done with the number 1 piece, 2 through whatever's left is going to be exactly the same, that same process. So I love that we're kind of rotating around our little positions on our table here, like the ironing, the, to finish it up. Then we have like prepping that seam allowance with the add a quarter ruler, getting our fabric, sewing, and back to the ironing, and it's just like around and around, and it gets just relaxing. I'll have scraps of stuff everywhere. It makes a mess, but it is fun. I love it. So, all right, you guys. Sandra says, I'm experiencing iron envy. I fought it off until now, but I may have lost the battle. Yes, this is that Panasonic cordless iron. Top 5 tools. Not having that cord is so amazing. It does have a base that's connected to a cord, but that's over there, and that's where you set it back in to continue heating up. But I was using this yesterday, and I pressed for a while and didn't have to heat it up again. I just find like if I'm doing like a whole quilt and doing every single seam, every once in a while I'll put it back in the base, but I have not noticed it really cooling down much at all. But dang, love it so much. I don't know if I have the link to that down here anymore, but there's links on other videos. I'm actually going to be working on that my favorite things post this weekend a little bit, and it'll be like my top 5 items, and then like I'll divide it up per project or per like per craft type. How about that? So like paper piecing, for sure. Add a quarter ruler, top billing for that. For embroidery specific, my favorite things. For needle turn, applique, my favorite things. So I'll just go through a bunch of crafts. Even knitting, I have those knitting needles that I just love. So it'll be my top 5 general things, and that iron goes on there for sure. That iron, the scissors, those are top 2 for sure. But anyway, so there we go, you guys. We will start this up again next month. And I don't think I need to even make a little project sheet for me, because it's very clear what happens next. It's number 4, the next one on the list. So it's like a built-in know what to do next. I am going to keep the fabric that we're using here specifically with this piece. I'm not going to put it back in my fabric bin, and we'll know right where to start again when we start up on this next month. So awesome. Reminder, Monday I will be at my parents' house, so I will only be on YouTube, and I think I will also be on TikTok as well. So I'll be bringing 2 phones home to do that. And then Tuesday I'll be back here. We'll be stitching that embroidery of the month. Grab your PDFs if you want it still. We still do have kits, but the PDFs you'll get instantly and can start right away. But yeah, so that's the deal. So have a wonderful weekend, everyone. It is Friday. That's crazy. I feel like we got a couple more days left, but we don't. So I will see you tomorrow. Or not tomorrow. See, that's what I'm saying. Feels like today's Thursday. Maybe it is. Maybe I'm totally messed up. I think it's Friday, though, isn't it? I don't know. It's Friday. All right, so have a great weekend. I'll see you on Monday, everyone. Good night.